Rise and shine on Australia's Vision Christian Radio.
A jam-packed show today, Phil. So much going on.
Yeah, hopefully you enjoy having a listen to it. We did have our CEO, Phil Edwards. He says he came kicking and screaming into the studio, but it doesn't take much to get him to come in and give us a Vision-a-thon update.
I'm pretty sure he's just waiting outside the door, waiting for someone to invite him in.
Wonderful, though. If you've been wondering what this Vision-a-thon thing is, Phil does a wonderful job of explaining it for us. So you'll hear him today. A bit more from Brett and Kate Ryan, focus on the families.
Yeah, Nationals Family Week is coming to an end. It will end tomorrow night, but just another great little session from them about how we can do families better.
Yeah, and then, of course, we've been following on our theme all through the week, op shops. Mayor Teeny Brumby from Burnie, Tasmania, got us started on it when she said she was a thrifty mayor, and we've been following it along all week. And today, hearing so many stories about actually a really, really long-running op shops that are impacting the community. And I think it's got you thinking, Andy, you're going to head to an op shop?
I'll be there this weekend.
There you go. You've heard it. He said to me, and you'll hear it down the track, but he's going to come back with an interesting item for Monday morning.
If I can find a funky jacket, like
That's
a
what
Willy
you're after?
Wonka style jacket.
You want like purple then?
Something a bit different, yeah.
Okay, you would look a bit like Willy Wonka, actually. I could see
do
that.
a good Willy. I did Willy Wonka once. I once preached in my church as Willy Wonka. I had Oompa Loompas. I had the soundtrack behind me.
Who were the Oompa Loompas? Who dressed up? Were there people willing to dress up?
Dudes in my church, yeah. They dressed up as the Oompa Loompas, and we just talked about. Yeah, it was actually it was one of those animated sermons.
I think they're the best. To be honest, I think with my kids, they're the ones that you remember. So if you've got teenagers in your service, but even for us adults, it's nice to have some fun.
Nothing like a bit of dress up, is there?
No, it does get you thinking. Anyway, that's on Monday. But enjoy today's show. It's jam-packed. Good morning. It's Friday. You made it. It's the 16th of May. You're waking up with Rise and Shine. Hey, Andy.
Morning, Phil. That's got a nice ring to it, hasn't it? Friday, the 16th of May.
It really does. And in my house, we had an early start. There was an emergency response preparedness check this morning run by the house. All of the smoke alarms went off at 4:30 a.m.
Oh, really?
I got to see whether it worked. I had shaking children coming out of their rooms. What's going on? No, that's okay. Just a drill. It's all a drill, people. But there's so many now in our homes that the only person who didn't wake up was Josh. So in case of fire, don't ask Josh to help.
So what happened? Was there smoke or they just went off accidentally?
No, they just go off. Sometimes they do.
Just for the sake of it?
Just for fun. I mean, it was nice. Murray then made me a coffee. I was like, I'd never had this many people around early in the morning. It was beautiful.
I got to say, one of the things my kids did learn in primary school, which was helpful, was stay low and go, go, go.
Oh, there you go.
I remember my daughter saying that to me when she was about 5 or 6. I thought, this is good they're learning this stuff at school.
Down low and go, go, go. Well, actually, no one was low in my house. They were all up. They were jittery. But at least they were awake. We have had the fire drill go off before the alarm, and Murray's been sound asleep. I've just heard him snoring in the background.
There you go.
So, for the win,
and secure.
really.
Thanks for streaming the Rise and Shine Daily podcast. Please subscribe to the show, rate it on your favourite podcast platform, and share the link on your socials. It all helps get the word out.
And it is National Families Week, Phil.
It's the Friday of National Families Week. Now, it's a government initiative, but we love that Focus on the Family Australia have been piggybacking onto it.
Yep.
We've heard from Brett and Kate every day this week.
Yeah, and it's been worth it because it is important to honour families. You know, I'm a big believer in God first, family second, church or ministry third. So as Christians, we have to value our families, honour our families. But without God, it's almost impossible, isn't it, Phil?
Well, it is. I mean, God is certainly, we've both been talking throughout the week of what a difference it makes to be able to pray for your family, have God move in your family. I wouldn't want to do it any other way. But throughout the week, Brett and Kate have just been dropping wonderful wisdom on all sorts of topics. And yesterday we got to have a chat to them and ask them about family frustration and say, like in a family, it's like if you've got toddlers, it's busy. But even when they're teenagers, there are lots of opportunities to feel frustrated and under the pump.
Well, it's interesting. I actually read a beautiful piece written by a young girl from our church yesterday and talking about the rhythm of rest. And we need to, it's not a reward. It's what we need to build into our lives so that we don't get frustrated. God built this into our lives. And so we need to do that so that we're constantly checking in with him and he's refilling our soul so that even when these situations come at us, let's face it, we've all had them.
You haven't, Kate. You know.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Kate.
I can honestly say I've had a lot. that we have to find places, even if it's we take our kids all out into the backyard, give them something to do, and just take that few minutes to connect with God and say, I'm exhausted, Lord, I'm just coming to you for a chat because I know that you will fill my soul.
Yeah, and sometimes that's all you can do, isn't it? But Brett, that word regulate, I really want you to explain that word more to us, and how do we do that?
Well, Kate's more the expert, but in the way that our brain is wired. So I'll default to her because she's the expert.
Okay, the regulator.
I've done a bit of study on neuroscience, and so what actually happens is when we get into kind of a flight and fight response, our prefrontal cortex actually shuts down. It's a physiological thing, and our emotions kick in. So for our kids, for us, when we get heightened by something, our brains actually switch off and our emotions come in. So it takes about 20 minutes for it to regulate, but we've got to put something in its place, something that relaxes us. So whether it's a breathing technique, whether it's walking on grass or looking at the ocean or walking around a lake or drinking water or listening to praise and worship music, whatever it is that calms you, that's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes for your prefrontal cortex to switch back on.
It's like a reboot, like you do in a computer, the restart.
Yeah, and so we need to do that so that we can operate in a healthy way.
And so when we do, and we know that as identified, that we all can lose it. We might raise our voice in frustration and anger. So one thing is, once we have done the regulation, removed ourselves, we come back, we need to apologize that, mummy and daddy raised their voice and we're really sorry that would have been very scary. Would you please forgive me? So we acknowledge it, that we've got a fault. And another thing that I really highly recommend is a simple acronym that would be ideal in every situation, not just when families, but in our workplace, in our churches, in our community, wherever it may be, is to think before we speak. And using the THINK as the words that come from, the first T, is it true? So when you hear something that's going to trigger you, hang on, is that true? Then we need to go H. Is this what I'm going to respond or how I'm going to react? Is this going to be helpful to the situation? Is it going to escalate it or is it going to de-escalate it? I, is it inspiring? Is it going to build up and or is it going to tear down? N, this is a really important one. Is it absolutely necessary that I get my point across? Is the timing right? Because you have to pick our moments. And then finally, similar to the I in inspiring, is it kind? The talk about the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, kindness. Is this going to help? And if we all did that in our relationships, could you imagine what life would be? To think before we speak.
And I think the important thing in there is you have to breathe.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
You have to breathe before
it's highly underrated.
And that gives you the time to run through the think thing. Because if you don't take a breath, you react. Whereas if you take a breath and go, I need to apply this think thing, and do that well. Otherwise, we will go into automatic mode. We default.
It's very, very well done. Look, and that was very quick. We did have some text to say, what is that think thing? You're welcome to text and I can send that back through to you. Or if you do a quick Google search, that acronym does come up.
There you go. So and it's a good one, the THINK.
Yeah, indeed. I'm not going to quiz you on it right now, Andy, but Google does help. And look, they've got wonderful resources that focus on the family crew at families.org.au.
Rise and shine on Vision Christian Radio.
And we are talking about op shops this week, aren't we, Fel? And it's been incredible, the response we've had.
And it all started earlier in the week when we had a great call from, well, we're putting it out there, our favourite mayor, Mayor Teeny Brumby from Burnie, Tasmania. We don't know a ton of other mayors, but she is spectacular. And she got telling us about how she started op shopping.
Look, when I first got this job 2.5 years ago, I have to confess, I didn't really have a wardrobe suitable for a mayor.
Sure.
So nor did I have the income as that, because I was actually a mother before I became a mayor. Beautiful. So I didn't have the means. I was full-time raising 4 children.
Wow.
And then, become the mayor. So I need to increase my wardrobe. I need to have some beautiful things every day. I'm photographed. And out at different events. So I traverse the op shops and I have got an epic wardrobe, and many of my pieces are $2, $3, $4. So I love every day. All my wardrobe is actually op shop. So when people say, "Oh man, you look lovely today," I say, "Well, thank you. This was $4."
And so it got us thinking, how do op shops work in your communities? We started off with a treasure hunt for the best treasure you found at an op shop. But, the real treasure that we're finding op shops is to their community, isn't it, Andy? Amazing.
And Andy learned a lot about op shops this week, and I didn't really realise, I'll put two and two together, that most op shops actually are an extension of churches in Australia. So there's a real ministry aspect to it. I just thought it was just cheap stuff. So, I've just been blown away by all the stories of how God's using op shops across Australia to impact people's lives.
Yeah, so here are some of the impact stories so far.
We do have an op shop story for you. I work at Burleigh Church of Christ, and we have an op shop in our church hall that we set up every Monday, and we're open Monday to Friday. We have the cheapest op shop on the Gold Coast because we're all about actually helping people.
Ooh, okay.
Over 90% of our stock is $2 and under.
Oh, that is very cheap.
Awesome.
Wow. And
babies' clothes are 50 cents, kids' clothes are $1. Adults $2. That's the sort of stuff that we sell.
The price point. That's
and
amazing.
We help a lot of people. And one of the things that we do with the money that we make is we have free food help every Friday morning from 8:30 to 10:30 for those in our community that are in need.
So good.
So good. Can you tell us, have you got any stories of people who have been impacted? I'm sure there'd be so many. If you could find one a person that pops to mind who's come in, perhaps has never heard of Jesus before and has found Christ through your centre?
We actually do have many, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
And we find that that's often they'll come to the op shop for something, and then they find out we do the free food help.
Yes.
And then they are loved through that free food help.
Wow.
And they go, "Wow, why are you guys so kind?" They can't believe the kindness that they encounter when they come here.
Amazing.
And they start asking questions, and we introduce them to what we've found as the love of Christ. That that's our mission is to pass that on to others.
So there was a gentleman who came into our op shop just before Christmas, just after we opened. And after talking with him briefly, I realised he was literally homeless. And that day he was able to use our shower on site. He received new clothing and leave with a food parcel as well. And we just loved on him. And we still see him every other week. And the gratitude that flows from him is just so beautiful and pure. And now he's talking about coming to church. He comes in. He's the one that brings up God. We have faith talk. He wants to come and play the guitar at church for us.
Oh, wow.
Just lovely little things like this. And he's the most beautiful soul. And the other one is just about a man who came in about 3 weeks ago, and I noticed he was very shaky and he was really doing it tough. And we ended up giving him free clothes and whatever else he needed that we had. And this man now pops in, literally, guys, every day.
Wow.
He helps us put out our signs at the start and finish of every day at the op shop. And he has attended our King's Table, which is our free community lunch that we have every Friday. And then for the last 2 weeks, he's actually gone on the food outreach, which is just unbelievable. And when he gets back from that, you can see the joy and the hope in his eyes that he has a sense of purpose and self-worth again.
We were at a lovely big church in Los Angeles called the Dream Center, and it's like a hospital church, but part of their ministry was having an op shop. Right. And the interesting thing about this op shop is that people could come in and get 2 or 3 items free, absolutely no money at all being exchanged. And we were living in quite a poor neighborhood in Los Angeles, so that's open, and we get a lot of people, of course, but every morning we'd look out and there was bags of clothing being left by people donated to the op shop.
Wow.
And they always went on the same beautiful Bible verse that when you give to the poor, you lend to God and he will repay.
We have an Anglican op shop in our town of Holbrook. Now, I've lived here for 24 years, so it's older than that because it was here and established, I don't know how long before that. So it was in a tiny little shop when we first moved here 24 years ago. And we expanded into the next door shop.
Wow.
And then about 6 years ago, we took a leap of faith as a church and we found a bigger building closer to the central part of our little town, where there's more shops and traffic and things. And we rented quite a large shed in the main street. And it has just grown and grown. It's awesome. It's amazing ministry to the people in the community and to the people passing through our little town.
So inspiring.
Story after story, Phil.
Of hope in the community. And I love that angle, really, when you think it through. And it's the same when you run a Christ-based business. There are so many people who are nervous or for whatever reason would probably not set foot in a church too easily.
Yeah.
But they'll come to an op shop.
Oh, yeah.
And they're starting to see, oh, actually, you people are quite normal, or I like you, or you're very nice, or the love of Christ in action somewhere else. And there's an opportunity then to, hey, let's take you a bit deeper. Let's invite you to church.
Yeah, and I was actually thinking yesterday too, I mean, let's be honest, there is a cost of living crisis and a lot of people are struggling a little bit financially. And so the op shops are just there and they're being a blessing to people who maybe don't have a lot of money right now for their kids' clothes or for their own clothes, and just another opportunity for the church to step up and just shine light.
Wait a minute. Are you telling me Vision's breakfast show is now available around the clock and on demand? Incredible! The Rise and Shine podcast. Rise and Shine.
Are you ready for a challenge? Listen to the mystery sound, correctly name the Bible story, and win a great prize. Sounds easy, but is it? Rise and Shine's Bible Story Sound Off.
Well, it's not easy. I'm going to put it out there. The epic sound, they seem to get much longer.
Look, nothing's easy, Phil, and it's Friday, and you know what? We are jumping back in that time machine.
Oh, that is not easy. I've said I've never drive with you, and I'm concerned that I get into a time machine with you.
Well, so far, so good, Phil. We've always landed in a Bible story, haven't we?
It's the first time for it to go wrong.
There's been no trips to Babylon, Egypt, or any of those other
They're all in
nasty
the Bible.
places. Well, in the Bible, but they're not good places to visit.
So you're telling me the Bible story is not from those places?
Well, that could be a clue. Could be a clue. Anyway,
we've passed those guys. That's
we've
important.
landed in Bible times, Phil.
Now, if you're listening along, the game is we have plucked out, using this incredible time machine, nuclear powered, a sound from ancient Bible history. Your job at home is to match the sound to a Bible story.
And this is the actual story. This is the sound, I should say, from an actual story in the Bible.
I'm glad it finishes off relaxing.
Encapsulates so much, doesn't it?
Well,
That sound.
it takes me on a roller coaster of emotions. But look, the job at hand is this. Can you match that very odd sound to some sort of a Bible story? But you've given some clues, Andy.
I have given some clues. It's in the Old Testament.
Okay.
It's in the first half of the Old Testament.
So first half of the Bible.
And there's a prophecy behind this story and behind this sound.
You've said so much but so little, but we do have some answers that it's not.
Young David looking after his sheep on a mountainside, and the birds are singing and the sheep are rustling around and chewing the grass.
Noah's Ark, where they open the window and let the birds, the dove out, and then shut the window.
The man who discovers the rare pearl and buys the field.
Gideon, when he didn't want to follow, he was in the hole,
yes,
so to speak,
literally,
digging away to get away from what God had called him to do.
I was thinking it was the Garden of Eden before the fall.
It's Elijah at Mount Carmel.
Elijah with camels.
Mount Carmel.
Oh, Mount Carmel.
Mount Carmel.
So many good guesses there, Phil.
I love them all.
But they all unfortunately heard one sound.
We are hoping that we can get the other sound to play at some point.
Well, the other sound's nice, isn't it?
It is. I feel like there's a whole studio full of people cheering you on, and we are cheering you on this morning.
The Rise and Shine podcast.
Got Mark here. Mark, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so I'm thinking, Phil, that it might be going all the way back to when Abraham and his family dug the well at Beersheba. And then from there, I was thinking where the prophecy might come in. That is where God called Abraham out to go sacrifice Isaac. And as we know, that didn't end up happening. And God sent his son on the hill that Isaac was going to be sacrificed on to sacrifice his son for all of humanity.
Oh, what a sermon.
Comprehensive answer.
Very comprehensive.
And it's actually such a good answer. It's hard for me to push the button.
No, don't do it. Oh, Andy.
Gotta push it.
It should be right, Mark.
It should be right.
That is fabulous. And look, you've inspired us this morning as well. So a sermon and an answer, but we'll have to keep trying.
Well done, mate.
Radio.
Thanks, Mark.
You.
See
Have
ya.
a good day.
You too,
See ya.
boy. And I can see I've got Joe here. Joe, you've tried before. Are you giving it another go?
I've got it today.
Oh, good.
It's 2 Kings 3:16, where God commands to dig ditches in a valley. They'll be filled with water, and where the birds of the air shall have their dwelling place.
Well, it's a very unusual. You don't hear that story a lot.
How did you come to find that answer? Did you Google it or did you know it?
Research. I kept researching. I called yesterday because I was sure I had it, and I thought, no, I'll keep digging. I'm digging.
Oh, you're digging. So there's digging. And there is digging in there. There are birds in there. There is water in there. Joe, it seems to me that you've got a lot happening.
Let's have another listen to the sound.
Okay,
Phil. I think I really want to just make sure, Joe, you're giving your best answer. Ready? What are you hearing, Joe? Tell me.
Digging.
Mm-hmm.
Water.
Someone digging very, very hard there.
Hard rock.
And look what happened.
And flowing rivers of water, perhaps?
So give us the answer again, Joe. What do you think the answer is?
I think it's in 2 Kings 3:16.
And what happened in that story if we don't know it?
God just commands to dig ditches in a valley, and it will be filled with water, and then the birds of the air shall have their dwelling place.
Well, guess what?
Yay!
You've nailed
it, Joe. It was all paid off. You did very well. That's impressive, can I just say? I thought that would maybe never go off.
You've done really well there. And Pastor Matt Prater, who joins us sometimes, he will love that because he loves everything with 3:16 and every Bible verse with 3:16. And it's actually for everyone listening right now, if you just look up every 3:16 in the Bible and every book of the Bible, there's some great passages
there are.
in chapter 3, verse 16 throughout the Bible. And that is one of them. Joe, well
Legend.
done. Well done.
Okay.
Winner, chicken dinner, Fel. We have a winner.
Oh, thank goodness, actually. Sometimes you're just ready for the sound to go off. It was a bit cryptic, Andy. So there you go. Tomorrow I was going to say, but no, it's a weekend. You've got a weekend for the sound machine to get fired back up again.
I'd like to think that we're keeping people hungry by making these sounds a little bit more difficult than maybe they could be. Making people get their Bibles out, have a search, have a Google, try and work it out.
Well, there will be a brand new sound coming your way on Monday morning.
We're caffeinated and ready to face the day.
This is Rise and Shine on Vision.
Something that you might want to do over the weekend, if you're in South Australia, is visit Peterborough, which has an incredible Steamtown Heritage Rail Centre, which I thought looked really cool. Like if you've got kids, I remember going to one in Queensland with the kids when they were little, and they thought that was fantastic. I think as teenagers, maybe not so much, but 88 FM is the way you can listen to Vision in Peterborough. Your weather right now, this is a bit nippy, Andy, 2 degrees.
Ooh.
And it's going to be 16 degrees during the day. So that's, for me, that's puffer jacket weather. I would definitely be wearing a puffer jacket.
Maybe some Ugg boots.
I think
How
so.
good are Ugg boots, Phil?
Well, I'm going to put it out there. My girls have been slowly, they've all got Ugg boots.
Yep.
I don't have a pair, but they are like, these are the best things in the world.
Yep.
I haven't invested though.
It's one of the greatest Aussie inventions, I would say, from the last 50 years.
It's a big export.
It's massive.
Like people around the world love it. Our Ugg boots.
And good old, pure wool. There's something about wool lining in shoes. It's just so nice on your feet. It feels nice. It keeps you warm. It breathes. It's so good.
Oh, there you go. There's a little ad for Ugg boots in the morning.
Yeah, for the
Hopefully
wool
you're
industry.
sitting there having your cornflakes and got your Ugg boots on and you're like, cheers, Andy.
Well, we have a Bible verse, Phil, and I'm in Isaiah chapter 61, and I read out the first half of verse 1 yesterday. Today, the second half of verse 1. The Bible says, He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to those who are bound. What a great promise. And of course, Jesus quoted these very verses in Luke chapter 4 when he began his public ministry. And it just reminds us all that, God, he's not just an academic God. We're not just into theology, which is just, knowledge. We have a God who actually wants to help us in very real ways. He wants to heal our hearts if they're broken. He wants to set us free if we feel bound up by anything. And this is the good news, Phil.
It's the daily podcast of your favourite Aussie breakfast show, Rise and Shine. Rise and Shine.
And we are loving travelling through the book of Acts together.
Yeah, it is such a good book, Phil. And as I've said all week, if you're new to the Bible especially, Acts is great because it's just stories.
Yes.
It's not like, lectures and information download. It's just like great stories. But in these stories, we see God's truth, we see God working, and we actually see Jesus in these stories as well.
Oh, we do. And it's the New Testament. So this is a good place to start because it's really people who have been born again. Jesus has died and been risen again. So this is where we stand as well with God. So if you can see what God is doing in the lives of the apostles and the disciples in the early church, we're just that, but 2,000 years later.
Yeah, and it's a fledgling church. And even if you step back from the stories and go, wow, the Christian church was so vulnerable. I mean, the founder was crucified by the Romans, put to death. We obviously believe he rose from the dead. Yeah. Some may dispute that. But even the early disciples, it is a ragtag bunch of people, no real money, no real influence, no political clout, really just marginalized people. And somehow this group of people just keep growing and growing and growing and growing until today we have 2.5 billion followers of Jesus. So to me, you have to say this is God. You have to say God started the Christian church. In Acts chapter 12, we pick up the story, don't we, Phil, of the church continues to grow, but there's more challenges to face.
Well, that is right. We pick it up in Acts 12 and we see that there's a king, King Herod Agrippa, and he's persecuting the believers in that church. And it's so much so that he has the apostle James, so John's brother, killed with a sword. So he is serious about this. There are people dying for their faith here. When he sees how much that pleased the Jewish people, he arrests Peter. Now, Peter, as we know, had been with Jesus. He's one of those key disciples. So Peter now is here and he's put into prison. And they say he's placed under four squads of 4 soldiers. So there's 16 soldiers. They are very serious about this.
This is a real challenge, isn't it, Phil? And, it says in the Bible here before that, it says that he stretched out his hand, King Herod, to harass some from the church.
Yeah.
And so this is what we call persecution. And, even today in 2025, 1 in 7 Christians around the world are suffering fairly serious persecution. Here in Australia, thankfully, not so much. But some of our brothers and sisters in other countries are really being harassed. So again, even though the church is so big and so strong and as so established in the world, this harassment and these challenges to Christianity continue to this day.
And we love what we see here because the response of the early believers was to pray. And so if we are the ones that aren't in the prison right now, our response is to be able to pray for those. And we see this church is praying, and they are praying all through the night. And we see that later on in the story. That prayer meeting is going and going for Peter. And Peter, though, he's not too concerned. I always think this is a really cool little story, actually. That night, he's placed before he's on trial, and he knows that King Herod wants him to go to death, right? So this is the situation. It's very serious. He's fastened between 2 soldiers with chains, and others are around the prison gate there. And suddenly there's a bright light in the cell. An angel of the Lord stands before Peter, and the angel has to hit him on the side to wake him up. Like he is seriously asleep. Quick, get up, he says, the angel says, and the chains fall off his wrists. And the angel then has to say, so he must have been a bit groggy, like, oh, what's going on? Get dressed, put on your sandals. And he did. And then he goes, the angel saying, now get your coat as well. Like there's clearly, Peter's in very, very deep sleep there.
Yeah.
I love it. He leaves the cell following the angel and he walks out past everyone out onto the street and he goes straight to that prayer meeting, doesn't he, Andy?
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know what? We can pray, as Phil said, we can pray for people all around the world now. And, one night, Phil, we did have a half night of prayer in the church I was pastoring, and we just really felt to pray for the Middle East. And we didn't have any direct connection there, but we just felt to pray, and we're just praying for the Middle East, praying for people to get saved, for people to meet Jesus, praying for the church. And, we're one of many people who have been praying for the Middle East, and you're just hearing story after story now about how people are turning to the Lord in the Middle East in the midst of persecution. I think the fastest growing church in the world is allegedly in Iran. It's an underground church where Jesus is turning up, appearing to people, saving people from an Islamic background. So just a great encouragement, this chapter, isn't it, Phil, that we should pray, because just like God got Peter out of that prison, he can 100%. Supernaturally save people all around the world today.
It is. And I really love Peter's response. He's in a difficult situation. But if you think back to in the book of John, where Jesus was talking to Peter, he actually gave Peter an idea of how he would die. He says, when you're old and you'll stretch out your hands and others will dress you and take you where you don't want to go. And Jesus starts talking about to Peter, hey, this is actually how you're going to die. I'm sure that Peter's sitting in the prison and he goes, I've got a word from Jesus. My time's not up. I know I'm not old. I know people aren't leading me where I don't want to. This is not it. I'm going to be fine. Deep sleep. So when you've got a word from God about your future, and like, for example, I know that with long life, he's going to satisfy me and show me my salvation. You can sleep sweet through any crisis as well.
Yeah, amen. And you read the rest of the chapter, Herod actually gets struck by an angel and dies. And I think I said this to you. In the revivals I've witnessed firsthand, I've seen God raise the dead, and I've also seen people pass away who stretch out their hand towards the church and oppose Christians, and that's a whole different topic for another day. But an amazing chapter in the Bible, as always, Phil. That's chapter 12 of Acts. And I've got to say, I do love the book of Acts.
Oh, it's wonderful. And look, over the weekend, you could jump ahead. We'll be in Acts 13 on Monday morning.
You found the podcast of Vision's breakfast show, Rise and Shine.
Rise and Shine. You can't buy salvation, but you can buy cheap clothes at an op shop, Andy.
You can, and we've been hearing all week, you get more than just cheap clothes. You get love, you get encouragement, and in some cases you actually receive salvation.
It's quite remarkable, and it all kicked off with Mayor Teeny Brumby from Burnie in Tasmania, who was telling us about how much she loves op shops earlier in the week.
Look, when I first got this job 2.5 years ago, I have to confess, I didn't really have a wardrobe suitable for a mayor.
Sure.
So nor did I have the income as that, because I was actually a mother before I became a mayor. Beautiful. So I didn't have the means. I was full-time raising 4 children.
Wow.
And then, become the mayor. So I need to increase my wardrobe. I need to have some beautiful things every day. I'm photographed and out at different events. So I traverse the op shops and I have got an epic wardrobe, and many of my pieces are $2, $3, $4. So I love every day. All my wardrobe is actually op shops. So when people say, oh, man, you look lovely today, I say, well, thank you. This was $4.
We're loving that. But also, not just that you're getting these bargains. I mean, that is enough. Well, it's a good start. But hearing that so many of these op shops are connected to churches.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So we put the call out on Facebook, also over the line. You can give us a buzz on 1-800-316-316. Do you have a church-related op shop that you would like to tell us their impact story? And there's been a number of posts over on Facebook.
Oh, tell us those, Phil.
Yeah, look, well, I can see Marie here says she loves the Hills Church Opportunity Shop in Fern Tree Gully, a blessing there. We've also got Liz in Dolby, the Salvo shop. Now, the Salvos, they run them all around the country as well. Lots of them having an impact. Gladys here says she's got the Dimboola Bargain Centre. It's been operating for 45 years, impacting that community for good and for God. Well, I've actually got Gladys on the line now. Gladys, can you give your op shop a shout out?
We're proud of our op shop, so why not? and it's actually 46 years, not 45.
So your op shop has been going for 46 years. Give it a shout out. What's its name? Where is it?
It's a Dimboola Lutheran Bargain Centre in Dimboola, Victoria. And it was originally, they were going to go for a 6-month trial as a community service project to raise funds for charitable distribution. And here we are 46 years later, still going strong. And I think, there's many great things about it, particularly that we can support our community. We give 50% of our profit straight back into our local community.
Wow.
And I think we support about 30 different charities and projects altogether. And actually Vision Radio has been a recipient as well, if you want to check it out.
Thank you.
Yeah, they have been. Yeah, so we get a lot of feedback from community saying, why are you supporting us? I mean, we give it to the schools, the CFA, other things around town. And like I said, probably 15 of those locally. and they'd probably average about $500 each. But they're saying, well, you've got your church. Why are you, supporting us and doing this for us? But it's such a great thing that we actually are in a position to do it.
That is amazing.
But that's our way of saying thank you to the community for the support that they have given us. There's some volunteers, the purchases, and the goods that they give us. So we've got a really good, communication with the local community, which is great.
Excellent.
I just think that's so inspiring. 46 years. It's making
46 years on June the 1st. There you are.
June the 1st. It must be one of the longer running op shops in the country, you'd have to think.
Yeah. No, it's still going strong, which is great. Yeah, and not last year, a lady retired, and she was the last of the original group that started. So she was with them for 45 years.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
Well, I'm actually inspired too, because I'm just thinking about Martin Luther in about 1500 had his revelation reading the book of Romans, and here we are more than 500 years later, and God's still using Lutheran outreach and Lutheran church, and in this case a Lutheran op shop, to impact people's lives. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, we think it's great. Like, we've got a prime location in the main street. Like, they've got to walk from the chemist to the coffee shop past our shop. Mm-hmm. And we are the only one that has a Christian Christmas display when it's Christmas time.
So good.
Great. We've got
shining light.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
It sounds like you are. Gladys, thank you so much. And a huge shout out to the Dimboola Bargain Centre. Have I said that right?
Yeah, we call it the Dimboola Lutheran Bargain Centre. We've got a Facebook.
Yeah, Martin Luther's name's in there.
Page. Yep.
Oh, good. Well, give your Facebook page a shout out just in case someone's looking for it.
Oh, it's just Dimboola Lutheran Bargain Centre. Mm-hmm.
Done.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having a chat this morning.
All right. Thanks,
you. Gladys. Bye. Well, look, 46 years. That's a fair innings, isn't it?
They're doing well, but as I said, Phil, it's been 500 since Martin Luther's revelation, so the old Lutherans, they hang around.
Always encouraging and always fun. Rise and shine on Vision.
Well, if you are new to Vision, we do Visionathon twice a year where people donate to Vision because they believe in what God is doing. And the CEO of Vision just happened to be walking past. His name is Fel Edwards. So we thought, who better to tell us all about Visionathon than Mr. Fel Edwards himself?
I was lurking the hallway.
Just checking on us where you
And then Fel collared me. If you imagine one of those cartoons where the big hook comes and it sort of... Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
that's exactly what happened.
Like a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
I'm very muscular, so I can do that.
I love those cartoons. I grew up watching those, and I could never figure out, when the coyote would sort of run out off the edge of the cliff and then he'd sort of hover there for a bit and, feel around with his hand and realise there's nothing underneath, and then he would fall. If only it was like that.
Did you ever feel for him? Like I
did.
I actually felt bad for him.
You can never win.
I wanted him to at least get him once,
At least not get hurt. Like, it did feel a bit in when they run on the spot and then they take off. That's ridiculous.
And if you're young, you don't know what we're talking about. We're talking about a cartoon from the last century.
I know. I'm sure people know what we're talking about.
But look, we've got you here as well, Phil, because there's a bit of running to happen in the next couple of weeks.
Beep, beep.
Something called Visionathon is coming up. For someone who's never heard of Visionathon before, tell us about it.
Well, Vision is made possible through the support and generosity of people all around Australia. There's lots of ways that different media organisations are funded. You take the ABC, for example. We all fund that. We don't get a choice in it. The government pays for it through our taxes. Commercial organisations sell advertising, and often that is pretty annoying, to be honest, but they're out there selling whatever they can. We do it differently. We actually invite our listeners and people that are passionate about the same things we're passionate to come into the room, join us in a mission. We're very mission-focused. And you could call us a non-profit organisation, but I think a better way to describe what Vision is a for-purpose organisation. We are for the purpose of helping people look to God, to propagate the gospel in this country of Australia, to take it everywhere. And I could tell you squillion stories. Well, maybe not quite a squillion, but a lot. I could tell you, tons and tons of stories we just hear every single day of the effect of as the gospel goes out, what is happening. Because you think about it, God's word says it will achieve the purpose for which it is sent. It won't return void. Yeah. We just have to be the faithful carriers of that, and we invite you to be part of it through Visionathon.
Yeah, and you mentioned there's a lot of stories, but there is a big story in the story of Vision, Phil. And again, if someone's new to Vision right now, they're listening and they don't really know what we're talking about, tell us briefly, through the donations of supporters over the years, how much has Vision grown?
Incredibly, Andy. We were formed in 1988. Can you remember back then? What were you doing in 1988?
Expo. I went to World Expo. I just moved to the country, actually.
Yeah.
I was a cuzzy bro from New Zealand.
One thing is we were all a lot younger in 1988. Some listening weren't even born back then. You know, there were faithful people who stepped out and they followed the call of God to establish something that they could see in their minds but did not exist in reality. And that is faith. When God calls you to do something and it's a different future than what your present is, you have to take steps. And people have done that over the years and have seen Vision grow into what it is today. And there's been kind of two main seasons where we're now in a third key season of Vision. The first one was when we were the key agitator, maybe a catalyst for establishing about 30 independent Christian community radio stations around Australia. Most of them are still going today. They're all independent. That season came to an end in kind of the mid-90s, early 2000s, and there was this little overlap period when we started our own Christian ministry to minister directly to people through Vision Christian Radio. We do it through the Word for Today, and of course a whole lot of online things that have popped up as well, through websites, apps, third-party services, and so on. And this third season that we're in now really is fully embracing the digital future for communication. Because we're in the communication business, and we've been doing a lot of it already. I mean, people will be using our apps and websites and so on. But there are just bags and bags of opportunities for us to connect with people through this amazing connectivity we all have through, you know, mobile phones and websites and technology. Again, to use that, much like the Roman roads were back in the day, as the means of taking the gospel from where we are and getting it to where the people are. And that's what we're passionate about.
Love the Rise and Shine podcast? Tell a friend today.
Phil, tell us about this year's Visionathon.
Well, it's first of all, not next week, but the week after. So the last week of May is the easy way to think about it. And we're putting the call out for the family to, you know, bring the money together. When you think about a family get-together, it actually costs you something. You know, maybe you got to drive there. It might be a big distance. You got to bring some food. It takes some money to do these things. So we're asking will you put some fuel in the tank so Vision can keep going and growing. And it's a big tank that we've got here because it's a really big ministry. It is continuing to grow. And by faith, we are believing for $2.2 million to be raised. Now, when you think about it, if you don't have $2.2 million, that's probably a lot. But in the big scheme of things, $2.2 million really is a drop in the ocean, and especially when you consider the resources that are at God's disposal. And we know that people have different abilities. Some people, they can give $20. Some people can give $20,000. And we've seen that. It's about us all being faithful and working together. So the invitation is going out, coming up the week after next.
Very exciting. And I love it because it's all about putting fuel in the tank. It's a great analogy, but it's also about that vehicle then being able to go out, and Vision gets in the middle of some pretty important situations, doesn't it? I love the theme here to help, which is what Vision's all about.
Well, we talk about helping all the time, helping people look to God. You know, Paul in 2 Corinthians talked about us being vessels, earthen vessels with treasure inside. Now, we got to make sure we understand here that we're not the treasure. We are the vessels. We are the carriers. And why do we do that? We carry God's treasure, and then we actually don't want to leave it in that vessel. We want for people to see it. So first of all, we want to help you to live that out as a believer yourself. But because we're doing this in a very public setting, you know, we are on broadcast radio. We're available easily on the internet. Our publications, I know, going to all sorts of places. I got a wonderful letter this week from a prisoner near, let me see, it was in Victoria somewhere, just saying how much the Word for Today has helped him. And he said, this is like my treasure that I read every day, and it's helping me in my situation. So we're connecting with people of all sorts, and it doesn't matter where they are kind of on their journey with God. They may be far from Him, completely ignorant of Him. Maybe they've been in relationship with Him for many, many years. All of us actually need to continue to take steps in God's direction. And, you know, even Billy Graham, you think about someone like sort of a modern day saint, if I could call him that, you know, someone who is very mature in their faith, still has more growing to do. And we want to connect with everybody and simply help them look to God, help them to turn their eyes toward the ultimate source of hope, the ultimate source of strength in these pretty trying times. Times there's lots of strains and stresses in life. And how great is it when somebody comes along, when you're in the middle of something and they saddle up alongside you with a word of encouragement. They say, come on, let's actually get our focus off the problems and get our focus on the solution. So that's what we do.
Yeah, and you mentioned the word for today then. And again, there could be listeners right now who are new to Vision. We give word for today out for free, don't we? It's a devotional we just send to people for nothing. But it doesn't cost nothing to produce, does it? And so over the years, all the generosity of God's people has enabled us, hasn't it, Phil, to send those word for todays all across Australia?
Well, everything we do, Andy, we give it out for free. So you're listening to the radio right now, and it's actually, you haven't had to pay for a subscription to do that. There's no sort of paywall that sits in between. We want to make this freely available, and the word for today is a really good example of something, tangible that we kind of understand intuitively. This would have cost something because it's paper. Somebody had to print it. It had to be posted. Somebody had to, be in the middle of all of that. Well, everything we do is like that. And so Visionathon is your opportunity to actually sit in the middle there with us and help to be part of the team that is taking that good news to where the people are. And they could be, in some really remote place. I just love it that we're in all kinds of obscure remote places, many that I've never been to. I've struggled to pronounce their names. We're also taking it, into the middle of big cities, where there's traffic and noise. But people are lonely and isolated, even in that circumstance. And we're able to get in there alongside them, getting, through the closed doors to right where they are and bringing hope and encouragement, because we are never alone, but we often lose sight of the fact that God is there, only a phone call away, so to speak. You know what I mean? He's always there. We can always turn to him and he will always hear us. And often people just need a reminder, and that's what we do.
It's pretty special, isn't it, really, that you can give a little or a lot, whatever it is that you've got in your hand, and you can be part of that, connecting people in country, regional areas, in the big cities to God. It's amazing, isn't it, Phil?
It is incredible. And look, there's even science that backs this up, that when we help somebody, when we're generous and we actually give out of ourselves rather than holding things back, it actually does something in our bodies physiologically that is good for our health and extends our life. I mean, how cool is that?
It's very cool.
No wonder God loves a cheerful giver, right? Because he knows it's good for us. So we invite you to come on in. Now's the time really to be thinking about, how am I going to be involved here? It might be, things are tight, the cost of living's gone up and all that sort of stuff. But, really when we think about it, we prioritize all sorts of things, even in the middle of really tough times that maybe we, aren't adding value. Good time to really think about, well, I can sow a good seed here into good soil that is producing great fruit, and that's a great thing to do. God, what do you want me to do? And for you, that might be, $100 donation, or it might be $100,000 donation. God's blessed us all with different capacities.
Hey, it could be $1 million.
It could be $1 million, Andy. Thank you for that donation. I'll take it right now.
A couple of those, and we're all done.
That's it. Before we even
two
started.
People at $1 million, two people at 100,000. We're done.
But Phil, honestly, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today and sharing your heart, and also a little bit of the story of Vision.
Just the right mix of things to inspire and things to make you smile. Rise and shine on Vision.
And I want to give a shout out to somewhere where everyone's eyes must be up in the skies this morning. There's a rocket set to launch, and I'm going to set you up here, Andy. It's the first Australian-made rocket to attempt orbit, and the first orbital launch in Australia for more than 50 years. Can you work out, and you may already know this, where it might be?
Well, if I was going to guess, I never would have guessed, but I have been informed earlier. It's in the town of Bowen, which does have a history of aviation. During World War II, there was a flying boat base in Bowen.
A flying boat?
Yeah, those...
Do they have a boat with wings?
Yeah, they were planes that could land on the water.
Oh, I see.
So they were used to rescue downed airmen. So if, planes were down in World War II, they would send those planes to actually land on the water and pick up the aircrew that actually ended up in the ocean.
Must have been pretty big.
Yeah, they were quite big, and they could fly a long way as well. So they were based in Bowen, believe it or not.
They are continuing their rich aviation history then. This is pretty cool. It's actually a private enterprise from a Gold Coast-based company, Gilmore Space Technologies. But I'm pretty excited. They tried to launch yesterday and they had technical difficulties. So it's up for launch any minute now. So if you're in Bowen, look to the skies. Wouldn't it be excited to see a rocket launch? It would be unusual. From a paddock is the way that they're describing it. So let's have a look at the weather in Bowen. And I wonder, you could listen to Vision at the same time as you're going up to space. I wonder how long, probably 5Ks into the air. On the app, though, probably all the way. 93.5 is our transmission there. 23 degrees right now. That seems to me, as a complete novice, a really good temperature to launch a rocket into.
A good time to fly into outer space, Phil.
29 during the day. But there is some thunderstorms coming, so I'm not sure if that might put them off. There's a 2-week window that they can launch it.
Well,
so.
spoiler alert, it was supposed to launch yesterday and it didn't happen. So there could be some technical issues today. There could be some weather issues. We're not sure, but watch this space. It's pretty exciting for Australia to be launching a spaceship into outer space to orbit the whole Earth. As you said, it's been about 50 years now. Australia had quite an interest in the space industry in the 1950s, believe it or not, because a lot of the German scientists came here after World War II who were very, let's say, rocket savvy. They were very good at launching rockets. They were probably launching them in the wrong places in World War II, but they used their know-how here. So well done to everyone involved in that, and let's hope that rocket gets up there and goes around the Earth. But we are in Isaiah chapter 61 and verse 2, and it continues on. It says, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning. And this is a continuation of an earlier verse which said that, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to preach good news to the poor and proclaim release to the captives. And these are some of the wonderful things that God does for people, comforts those who mourn and gives beauty for ashes and the oil of joy for mourning.
Oh, praise God. You see that so many times and I've seen it in my own life. What the devil is meant for evil, God turns around for good. It's incredible. God has a great way of doing that, and he'll do that for you as well.
I've heard of all-day breakfast on the menu, but here's a brekkie show available 24/7. Thanks for streaming the Rise and Shine Daily Podcast.
Well, Pastor Matt Prater has just walked past the studios and now he's in the studio. Pastor Matt, welcome to Rise and Shine.
Good to see you guys. I've got my Psalm 91 shirt on, which I got from my op shop.
Well,
you did.
How good is that?
How much did you pay for it?
I think it was like $5, maybe 10,
really?
something like that. Yeah,
it looks brand new.
It does. So for those players at home, everyone's listening along and they're like, what is a Psalm 91 T-shirt? Mm-hmm. Explain your T-shirt to us.
Well, it says, God is my refuge and my fortress. Under the shadow of his wings, it says it upside down. I'm trying to read it. I'll find shelter under the shadow of his wings.
It's a blackish T-shirt and it's got the Psalm written in the middle.
Yep.
Huge Psalms 91.
Oh, look, one of the best Psalms ever. Now, Matt, we've been asking people, what impact has your op shop had on your community? My understanding is your church has an op shop.
Yes.
So have you got some op shop ministry stories for us?
Yeah, so the New Hope op shop opened late last year. And firstly, I just want to say we have a Christian section, and I love wearing
that's a good idea.
Bible T-shirts. Bible says make the most of every opportunity. So I figure, all right, wear a Bible verse on your shirt, every opportunity. So, yeah, we've actually got a whole range of, Christian-y shirts in there with Bible verse and stuff, yeah.
Can I ask then, Matt, if you're wearing Christian T-shirts, because not everyone would do that, do you find people do stop you and say, is it a conversation starter?
Yeah, people notice it, like, on the plane or you're at Macca's, you're at Woolies, people notice things like that,
Yeah.
But you got to behave yourself.
It's like a bumper sticker, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, on the road, if you've got a Christian or a Vision Radio bumper sticker, that's right. You got to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk.
Oh, I love
Preach
that.
It.
We don't want road rage with a Christian T-shirt and a bumper sticker. That's not a good look.
No, that is right.
You don't get angry at the drive-through. Where's my fries?
But Jesus loves you T-shirt on.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell us these ministry op shop stories. I'm curious. Give me some.
Yeah. So one cool story is there's this beautiful lady who's just joined our church, come back to the Lord. She's been, having addiction problems. She's been lonely, and she just started coming to our op shop. And the lady who runs our op shop, Karen, is just such a mama. Like, she just hugs people. She loves people. And she's actually an op shop fanatic herself. Her whole life she's loved op shopping.
Yeah.
And now she's got her own and she's like, a kid in a candy store. So she loves everyone, talks to everyone. And, we try not to be preachy in our op shop because, it's a charity that's fundraising, so we try to have a good culture in there. But if people want to talk, of course we will,
Sure.
And this lovely lady, Amanda, just started coming to the op shop, hanging out. Started coming to church. She's got her life right. She's on track now, and she's become really close to all of us. And, the Bible says God sets the lonely in families.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about things like op shops or soup kitchens or, youth groups, that there is so much isolation in our communities today. People are just in their homes. They're on social media thinking they're being social, but they're not actually connecting with people.
Yeah.
So this lady's been very lonely, and now she's in a family through our op shop. There's been a few other stories where we prayed for people in the shop because they've asked for prayer and things like that, you know.
But that story alone, Maddie, I mean, it's worth it just for that one soul, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
The whole thing.
Well, because it's so representative of what you see in op shops.
Yeah.
Because it's actually the people who come in, but also the volunteers. There's that element of family because they're the people who may not be able to work elsewhere for different reasons sometimes. And they're setting a family within the op shop.
Yeah, and the other cool thing is that the volunteers we have in the op shop are people that, you know, we're looking for something to do, you know?
Right.
Like, you know, all the research shows that when you volunteer, it's actually good for your mental health too. You know, it's good for you. The Bible says, he who refreshes others will be refreshed, you know? So if you're in there at the op shop, not only just helping with the clothes and the ironing and the, you know, labelling and whatever you got to do, but caring for people, chatting to people, it actually gives you a lift.
Yes.
You know, so at the end of the day, you feel like you've made the world a better place by volunteering there for the day. So, so op shops all across Australia need volunteers. So go and volunteer in your local op shop. And the other cool thing is people come in and donate all these clothes and then they buy all this stuff. So it's like a win-win every time people come into the op shop. I love it.
So what I'm hearing, Matt, is be a blessing, bring some refreshing. Is that what you're saying?
Be a blessing, bring some refreshing.
No. You start to wrap
in the
that now?
op shop. Come on.
You can't top that.
As you go, you
my
will flow.
word.
Come on, give me another word that rhymes with that.
We should have given a bit more notice on
Be
that.
a blessing, show some refreshing.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
What's the next one? What's the next word,
Just
mate? You're
like
the
in
rapper.
vision, you'll get some provision. That's
There you
it.
go.
Now guys have to remember what you just said.
Yeah.
No, that was very, very good. Oh, well done. Well, Matt Prater, what a legend. Thank you for dropping in and dropping those bombs on us. Well, we love it, encouraging us. We're trying to get Andy out to an op shop over the weekend, so maybe he can come to yours.
Well, I'm always getting good preaching shirts at my op shop too. You know, like I like a good
Okay.
Hawaiian
Oh, there
shirt.
you go.
I like cool,
Nice.
you know, shirts.
Are you into Hawaiian shirts, are you, Andy?
Not yet. Sounds like I'm
well,
gonna
maybe
be.
you will.
We could be twinning, mate.
I would love to see that, actually. Well, we'll let you go, Matt. Thank you so much, Pastor Matt, for joining us.
Subscribe and listen to the Rise and Shine podcast in the free Vision app. It's easy and available everywhere.
We've got Joanne on the line.
And Joanne, is it true your op shop's even older than you and I combined?
Yes. So in one sense, I'm not the best person to talk about it because I'm the newbie, but we've only been here this year. But we become involved in St. Luke's shop in Emerald. And as I was getting to research things and find out about the town and the church and the shop, I saw that there was an ad for it way back on the 31st of October, 1931.
Wow. So that's incredible. We put the call out for older op shops. And previous to this, our oldest that we'd found was, I think, 46 years old, 93 years old. That's huge. Well done.
It is. And I met a lady who's in her 90s and has been coming to the church here, and she did. I'm sure she wasn't volunteering when she was a newborn.
No, true.
But
she remembers it.
I'm just
long
trying
time.
to think. Back in those days, I'm pretty sure a lot of people like mended their clothes too, didn't they? And recycled their clothes, and kids were often given the clothes from their older siblings. So there wasn't probably as much trade in second-hand clothes, but obviously in Emerald, it was going on way back then, ahead of time.
Yeah, they just had it on the veranda of the rectory, and they called it Paddy's Market. And clearly they saw a need and a way to serve and ran with it.
That's what we're hearing a lot, is it's a way to serve the community. So it's connected to St. Luke's Anglican in Emerald. Joanne, in your experience, what have you seen as being that community impact from the op shop?
Oh, people come in and I hear people's stories every time I'm in there.
Wow.
People, it's like they come in ready to talk, needing to be with people and find someone. And I'm just fascinated to hear what's going on in people's lives and be a friendly face and a listening ear.
It's pretty special, isn't it? Because they're people who need that pastoral support by the sounds of it and wouldn't feel comfortable coming to you in a church. So they're coming to the church op shop, which is like a safe space, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah. And we have people who come in. There's one fella who comes in and changes the date for us. And we have our little rhythms and our people who we love to see.
Well, Joanne, we're inspired this morning. I'm thinking there can't be too many op shops older than 93, I think, but very, very impressive. Thank you for giving us a call, and for being a blessing in that community. Let everyone know that we're so inspired by their story this morning. But we would also love to hear from you about your impact story. Op shops are having this huge impact on their communities. It's a safe place, isn't it, where people are thinking, oh, maybe I can't go and visit a church, or I don't feel comfortable setting foot in a church. But actually an op shop, that's a safe place. And we're seeing people come to Christ.
Yeah, and there's all sorts of op shops too. I know there's op shops that have designer gear in it. Others have just got nice, practical, cheap clothing. And it's like there's one for everyone, Phil.
Well, there isn't. Andy, you've promised us you're heading to one over the weekend. You've been inspired.
My daughter's going to take me. I'm going to take a microphone. We're going to record the event, Phil.
Oh, there you go. Well, that's what every visit to an op shop needs.
Brought to you by the generosity of Vision family members across Australia and around the world. The Rise and Shine podcast.
Well, we have Melissa Goodin with us again from Retire Me Young. And Melissa makes a whole lot of sense when you're talking about dollars and cents. Melissa, welcome to Rise and Shine.
Thank you for having me. Lovely to be here.
Is Andy getting royalties yet for that catchphrase he's making up for you? It's pretty impressive, Andy. Maybe you should go into marketing.
I intend to sell it to you one day, Melissa. But Melissa, what is your financial tip for today?
Okay, so Andy, last time we spoke about don't panic when markets are dropping, and it's been so quick and it's rebounded. So not to say there's not going to be further volatility, you can never predict the future. But basically what I'm saying at the moment, and remember it's always general advice, is that let's be really careful we don't make bad decisions at the absolute wrong time. And just remember that this is when other people make money and you lose money. So if you're going to chop and change and get all worried and get all emotional every time your super drops 10%, really, I think there's some learning and some understanding that you need to do so that you understand what's going on and so you're not making these decisions. So just to give you an example, just before the market drop, it was around 8,800, and then thank you, Trump, it dropped to about 14% down to about 7,500 on the 7th of April. Today, it's back over 8,500. So that's a 14% drop with a 13% recovery in such a short amount of time. If you'd panicked and moved your super into cash or sold your investments, you'd potentially have lost 10%, really for no reason, just because you don't understand what's going on. So just want to highlight the importance of understanding what is your money invested for. And if it's invested in super or a long-term investment, its purpose is to give you a really great long-term return. So, for example, if you are living until your 80s and 90s, which many of us today hopefully should be able to achieve, and say you're 50 or 60 and you're sitting in a default fund in your super, be really careful because one of Australia's most popular super funds, the 10-year returns for their default fund for someone in that situation is 5.4% every year for the last 10 years. That is a horrible return. It's like half like what a long-term return should be. So it's a very big price for being comfortable. It's not always about being comfortable. So I guess in summary, Psalm 1, verse 1 to 6 kind of touches on a similar concept, like talks about the wicked being chaff and the wind blows them away and they will not stand in the judgment. And I feel like it's similar when it comes to finance. You need to stand firm and understand this is a long-term strategy. It's 20, 30, 40 years, and not to just chop and change because it's those people that don't survive the long-term finances.
That is such good advice. There's gold there, Phil. What are your thoughts on that, Phil?
Yeah, look, I think it's so much wisdom, Melissa, and it's great because we were talking last time around how the stock exchange is going up and looked like it was going right down. So really good to hear that there's a long-term strategy at play. If I was someone, say, in one of those very traditional super funds and I said, I think I'm getting 5 point whatever it is %, how do you go about changing that? Where do you go to find these better returns?
You know what? Firstly, I wouldn't take advice off people who really don't know what they're talking about. You really need to be careful and find someone that you trust. So probably go and speak to a few different people. Financial advisors can be awesome. They can also be terrible. It's really like you need to just go and find some people that you trust, understand, and just put a little bit of effort into understanding and ask the hard questions and get them to show returns, get them to have you understand it so that And really, I guess, it's just finding someone you trust that has a long-term record of doing what they say they're going to do, and don't just take advice on the phone on some call center with your industry fund. You really need to be a little bit more proactive and start learning a little bit and get some serious advice.
Yeah, that's good advice in itself. And look, you're obviously the one who retired young. I'm the one working for the Christian radio station. But I do know this about investment. I mean, Warren Buffett was always a long-term investor. He's one of the richest men in the world. And I think even during the dot-com era in the late 90s, when people were buying all these shares in these dot-com companies that end up crashing, he didn't buy into that stuff. He was just long-term investing in solid companies, like you said, with good returns. So, Melissa, I think this has been very timely. It's very poignant, and it's very applicable for those of us, like you said, who aren't 25 anymore. We're looking at our retirement, and we want to make sure we're actually maximising our wealth for our retirement. But thank you so much for joining us today. It's Melissa Goodin from Retire Me Young. And yes, she makes a whole lot of sense when you're talking about dollars and cents. Melissa, if someone wants to look you up online, what's your website, please?
retiremeyoung.com.au. I have a free 15-minute phone call, so you can jump online on my website, book it, have a chat with my staff, and I offer a free appointment to go through your situation and tell you what I would do or something and head you in the right direction.
Oh, thank you so much, Melissa. We'll have another chat with her a couple of weeks from now.
Great conversations and great friends. The Rise and Shine podcast.
We have been loving hearing all of these stories of op shops impacting the local community.
Yeah, and the stories are coming from all across Australia, Phil. That's what I've enjoyed. I just love hearing the stories of towns and cities across Australia from our Vision family. And these stories just keep coming in.
They're amazing. And look, we've got one here from Kelly. Kelly, you're calling from Holbrook with a story about how important your op shop is.
Oh, well, we have an Anglican op shop in our town of Holbrook. Now, I've lived here 24 years, so it's older than that because it was here and established, I don't know how long before that. It was in a tiny little shop when we first moved here 24 years ago, and we expanded into the next door shop.
Wow.
And then about 6 years ago, we took a leap of faith as a church, and we found a bigger building closer to the central part of our little town, where there's more shops and traffic and things. And we rented quite a large shed in the main street, and it has just grown and grown. It's awesome. It's an amazing ministry to the people in the community and to the people passing through our little town. As I said, I think, as I wrote on the Facebook thing, we have a full-time Anglican minister in our town, and without our op shop, I'm not going to say it pays all of it.
But it helps keep the church running. It's a source of blessing for the church, and so good to have a full-time minister, because as we know, it's really tough in some country towns that you don't have full-time ministers.
That's right. He is the only Protestant minister in town full-time. We have a Catholic priest now that is full-time, I think. I'm not sure. I think he lives in town. The previous one didn't, but did mass here once a week. But yes, we've had a full-time ministry in our town for as long as I've been here and before. So, yes, so that's what our op shop does. But it's also a ministry for the people who come in. Like we have about 32 volunteers during the week.
Wow.
On a Monday morning, we have 6 or 7 men who come in, and they move the furniture around, or take things to the tip that aren't any good. They sit and have a cup of tea. They do that every morning every Monday morning. We're open 5.5 days a week.
Wow.
Every week, except like Good Friday over Easter we don't open, or Christmas. And most of our volunteers, I will say, are not churched.
Yeah,
great.
Amazing.
But they do get the message of God and Jesus through the other volunteers that are church goers, and so it's just a blessing to our little town. And people just stop here on the way through. We're halfway between Sydney and Melbourne. I don't know whether you know where Holbrook is, but we get a lot of tourists coming through, and they come into the op shop and they buy. And it's amazing.
That is amazing, isn't it, Phil?
Can you imagine? Like, that is actually very, very clever, because it means that a minister can be serving in Holbrook. They can have a full-time minister on staff where they couldn't previously. It's very good thinking.
Yeah, and in those little towns, the ministers often do activities and ministries outside of their own church because the local community look to them as a minister when they need them in times of crisis, funerals, weddings. And so having a minister there full time, I'm sure he's a blessing to the whole town of Holbrook.
Well, if you would like to get in touch, we have got a Facebook post up where you can give a shout out to your op shop. Encourage you to jump over and tell us your story there. Rise and Shine Vision is the place to go. We have been just so inspired all through the week.
Lots of laughs with lots of heart. The Rise and Shine podcast.
And I want to give a shout out to Boddington in Western Australia, where you're listening along on 87.6 FM. I'm thinking a weekend in Boddington would probably involve a bushwalk. Beautiful part of the world to be walking and exploring nature.
Well, WA to me, having never been there, Phil, not only have I never been to an op shop, I've never been to WA. It just seems like the most beautiful, natural place you can go.
There's lots there, and that's about an hour and a half drive south of Perth. So you could be in Perth, go for a bit of a day trip. They've got a beautiful river, Hotham River. There's undulating hills, if you can imagine that, and near a forest. So there's lots of greenery as well. It's not too far from the dwelling upstate forest, sort of a little bit there, but I reckon you could see it all in a day.
Sounds nice. And those beautiful beaches that we see in WA, I see anyway on YouTube or on photographs. But we are in Isaiah chapter 61, and I've been talking about some promises that were made, which Jesus himself quoted in Luke chapter 4. So this is a continuation of the promises that God has given us all. And it says that he will give us a garment of praise instead of a spirit of heaviness, that we may be called the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. And if any of you have been a Christian longer than maybe 20 years like I have, you remember there was a great song about that we might be the trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Wasn't that a good song?
Yeah, I'm trying. It's slowly coming back into my brain, actually.
That we might be the trees of righteousness. There you go.
The planting of the Lord. Actually, that's true. I wonder if that was a scripture and songbook one back from the 90s.
It was a good one.
The 80s.
It was a good one. But but the verse before that he will give us a garment of praise instead of the spirit of heaviness. And this is a great promise from God. And if you're a new Christian today, you've just found faith in Jesus, or maybe you're almost there and you're about to receive him as your Lord and Savior, one of the great things God does to all of us is he gives us his garment of praise. We become thankful, we become worshippers, we become people who sing to God songs of praise, and it does something to your life. It brings change to your life.
Yeah, it does. And look, one of the great things, I think Andy and I both can resonate with this, is that there are lots of ways that you can do that, and connecting in places like we've got Vision Worship, which is a stream that you can get through the Vision Christian Media app. Oh, we've got it on there now.
It's funny you should say that, Phil, because I was listening to Vision Worship earlier.
Because sometimes you can feel a bit flat. You can feel like there's lots of things and your brain can be fogged up. The devil certainly comes. He wants to steal and destroy peace. When you put something like this on, and you can get it through the Vision website, click on Vision Worship or through the app, it's very hard to stay downtrodden.
That's it.
When you've got this speaking into your head.
Yeah. Yeah, and more people across Australia actually listening to Vision Worship now. I think we just got the stats out this week, like thousands. I think it's 26,000 people already listening to Vision Worship, which is amazing. But yeah, just worshiping God, just one of those many ways that God brings his blessing and his presence to our lives.
Always encouraging and always fun. Rise and shine on Vision.
Andy, you're going to make a visit to an op shop.
Yeah, I'm a rookie op shopper. I've never actually shopped at one. I used to donate clothes to the local op shop when our church office was like 3 doors from an op shop. I'd often take bags of clothes and toys and stuff. Never actually shopped there. So I'm going to go this weekend with my daughter. And I think my goal, Fel, is to get the craziest jacket I can find. Sort of like a Willy Wonka style jacket, just a little bit different, something that's not normal, Fel.
Well, on Monday, you can wear it in.
Yes.
There you go. That's your challenge.
It'll be my radio jacket.
The weekend challenge is for Andy to find the craziest thing he can and wear it in from the op shop.
Because I'm not really a Hawaiian shirt guy, so I don't really want to load up on any Hawaiian shirts.
With Matt Brady, you're not going to twin with him.
No, he does the Hawaiian shirt really well.
You have to be the right person.
You do.
We have asked if you're an op shopper, give us a call, 1-800-316-316. On the line, I can see we've got Pastor Prudy from Warrnambool. How are you doing?
Hey, Fel and Andy. I'm so well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Very, very good. Now, we're talking op shops. Are you an op shopper?
I totally am, yes. I love it. It's addictive, I must say.
Yes.
Warning to everyone, don't start, because if you can get something for $2, why would you spend $50 on it?
100%. We love an op shopping pastor. Andy's going to go out over the weekend, Pastor Prudy. So we're trying to inspire him.
First time.
He's a first timer.
Are you
Hey,
addicted?
Andy.
Are you addicted to the bargain of saving the money, or are you just addicted to getting new stuff? Where's the addiction lie?
Well, I love bargains, yes, and I love the surprise. You can find some really unique items. My daughter, who's turning 16 this week, she and I are addicted, and we go to every time we go to a new town, we go to the op shop. And it's amazing what you find, really, honestly, even like little knickknacks and special. I've bought like really good quality jewellery, like
Really?
It hasn't been noted, like it's not noticed that it's real silver or gold. So it's always worth checking it out because you can find rare items as well.
There you go.
Okay, so this weekend, Pastor Prudy, are you heading out to the op shop?
No, I'm not this weekend. So I'm busy hosting an amazing youth event, actually.
Oh, tell us, what's going on in Warrnambool?
Yeah, well, tonight we've got check-in at 6:45, kicks off at 7. We, as Unify, we're a network of youth groups in Warrnambool. We get together and host the Youth Alive event, a rally.
Wow.
And, it's called Undivided. And across Australia they are run across Australia with different names. But Victoria, we have 20 different locations over 5 weeks hosting these amazing events called Undivided. And, we're pumped to reach the city of Warrnambool and district with the love of Jesus.
Oh,
So the event is what? Is it like a concert, or is it like what's going on? Worship and preaching? What are you going to be doing?
Absolutely, yes. We're kicking off with some fun games. There's a kiosk. You can buy some treats before you start. We're going to have some fun games to kick off with epic praise and worship. And then James Morgan is going to be our special preacher from Melbourne, it's Faith Church in Melbourne. So, we then have an opportunity for youth to give their lives to Jesus and to make a commitment. And so we're really excited. We have, usually around 200 youth come, and we're hoping to have 250 this year. That'll be epic. So come along, everyone.
I remember Youth Alive growing up, like they were epic.
Yes.
Is it still as good?
It's still as good.
Probably better.
Still as good. No, absolutely. Absolutely. The music gets, louder and, we're out the front in the mosh pit, so we really do have a good time.
Are you out the front, Pastor Brady? Are you like a mosh pitter?
I am.
You are.
I can imagine it. I need a picture of this, actually. So that's very cool. Well, you send us a picture from your event. We'll pop it up on Facebook of Pastor Prudy mosh pitting. We would love that.
Pastor Prudy in the pit.
I love it.
And are you getting a good uptake from other churches, Pastor Prudy? Like you find all the local churches and their youth groups want to get involved?
Oh, yes. It's really amazing. The unity we experience is hard fought at times, but we see results, and that just keeps us going. And we all do different roles, and we switched churches where we host it. So we're going to Crossroads, this year, which is out in east of Warrnambool. And so it's going to be good to have a fresh venue, and it draws different people too, right? When you move it. So, we're all pitching in. Our creative team, like the band on the night, is made up on purpose from different youth groups. So good. And, we have different flavours and different people doing the response team after we call them for salvation at the end. Mm-hmm. And so, it's very much a team effort. And Youth Alive, obviously, very supportive, and they direct us on all the things that we do throughout the night. We're very well supported.
Also love that it's across Victoria. So if you are anywhere in Victoria, there's 5 weeks, 20 locations, the Undivided, almost like a tour, I guess you could say. So if you want to find out, I'm just quickly Googling, and you can head to youthalivevictoria.com or /Undivided, or if you Google Undivided, it's the first search there. It's very well organised. So no matter where you are in Victoria, it sounds like there's a Youth Alive coming to an area near you.
Yes, be there.
Pastor Prudy, well done.
Yeah, let's all pray for Victoria this weekend. There's 20 different Youth Alive events happening across that state. Let's just believe God that young people come, young people meet Jesus, and also the ones who are already saved will be encouraged by I remember when I was young, just all those young people together in the one place, worshiping God, gathering together. It was pretty special.
It's very, very powerful.
The Rise and Shine podcast.
Hey, what a great show today, Phil. Had a little bit of everything, didn't it?
It did have a bit of everything. Great to hear from Phil Edwards, our CEO, about Visionathon. Less than 2 weeks to go for that one.
Great to see a winner to the Bible Story Sound Off. Finally, the mystery was solved.
If you're wondering, Andy, tell everyone again, what's the story the sound is from?
Yeah, it's when the prophet prophesied. There was the 3 or 4 kings were together and they were going to battle and they ran out of water. They were in the middle of this desert and they were going to die. And they called for the prophet Elisha and he prophesied and said, dig ditches because this time tomorrow the land's going to fill with water. And it was like, really? But anyway, they dug the ditches and sure thing, next morning the water filled up those trenches.
It's a good picture of our lives, isn't it? Sometimes you can feel like it's dry and you're up against a big battle, but God tells you to do something, and often it's practical. It's always something that we can do. In that case, digging ditches, they had an army. They could dig a ditch.
They had shovels.
They
had the manpower. They did what they could, and God did what only He could do.
Yeah, God filled in the rest. Well, we are praying you have an awesome weekend. We'll be back tomorrow morning with the best of the Rise and Shine from throughout the week. But whatever you're doing today, we pray God's blessing upon it, and we'll see you on Monday morning.
Thanks for taking time to listen to this audio on demand from Vision Christian Media. To find out more about us, go to vision.org.au.